Hi, my name is Haley Smoot, and I am the Director of Public Policy for the National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship. In this video, we'll be giving you everything you need to know to have a successful Hill meeting. We'll give you a little bit of background on the current state of things on the Hill, how Congress works, and tips to have a successful Hill meeting during Virtual Hill Week. So let's get started. So, first, we'll talk about the makeup of the chambers. We've got the House of Representatives. You've got one representative per district. The number of representatives is based on the population. There are 435 voting members, as well as 6 non-voting members, and they're from like DC, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, etc. And these representatives serve 2-year terms. The senators, on the Senate side, we've got 2 senators per state. That makes 100 senators total. They serve 6-year terms, and a third of the seats are up for election every 2 years. So now let's talk about the current Congress, so 117th Congress. On the House side, the House Representatives, you have 435 representatives, as I mentioned. Of those representatives, 220 are Democrats, 210 are Republicans, and we currently have 5 vacant seats. And again, we've got 6 non-voting members from Puerto Rico, DC, U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, etc. On the Senate side, as I mentioned, we have 100 senators. 48 of those are Democrats. 2 currently are independents, and they caucus with the Democrats, so they vote with the Democrats. And then we have 50 Republicans. And so essentially we've got kind of a 50-50 thing going on right now. So Vice President Harris often casts tie-breaking votes. So to talk about how Congress works, which we're kind of giving you an idea so far. The problem is it doesn't always work. And we're going to talk about like certain things that you can do since it can be a bit dysfunctional. And as you can see here, it's a little bit out of order. But we wanted to talk about how you get legislation passed. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. So this is like a typical, ideally, this is how a bill becomes a law. So first it's introduced in committee, or it could be in it's introduced in committee, and then you have committee or subcommittee hearings where experts, including advocacy organizations, will deliver testimony. Next, you have the committee markup or subcommittee markup. That's where you can debate the bill. You could propose amendments, and then the committee or subcommittee votes. And if it's voted out of the committee, it goes to the full chamber for a floor vote. And then you kind of do the same thing again in the other chamber. And then ideally, if we all agree and the bill passes, it goes to the president to be signed. So this is where you guys come in. So what role do you guys play? And you can see this is from our latest in-person CPAT that we just had this in June with all of our awesome advocates there. So you guys could really make an impact by having Hill meetings with your members of Congress. So I want to talk about a few things you can do for Hill meetings, good things to remember. First, be prepared. Make sure that you review and rehearse the legislation you're advocating for, and also read up on your member of Congress. So you'll want to know, for instance, is he or she a cancer survivor? That's good to know. Do they have a connection to cancer? Are they a Republican or a Democrat? Because your messaging might differ depending on which, if they're a Republican or a Democrat, for instance. For the meetings, be on time. Make sure you show up a few minutes early, especially because we're doing virtual Hill meetings this year. And you'll need to make sure that you can prepare or troubleshoot if you have any technical difficulties on Zoom. Plus, it's just good to be there a little bit early and kind of gather yourself. Be flexible. Don't be surprised if the member is late or if a member of their staff meets with you instead. If it's a member of the staff that you're meeting with, don't panic, because congressional aides are very knowledgeable and they have the trust of their legislators, so meeting with them can be just as effective as if you're meeting with the member themselves. Be respectful. You may not agree with your legislator on all issues, but do be respectful and keep politics out of the meeting. Focus specifically on your story and the legislation that you're supporting. Be concise. You have a very limited amount of time, sometimes about 15 minutes with your member, so make sure you use your time wisely. You can use the Tell Your Story worksheet that we'll have on our website too. The link should be below, where you can practice telling your story to get it under 2 minutes. Make sure you share the spotlight. So since your time is limited, you may be in a meeting with other advocates, definitely be respectful of the time that you have and make sure that every advocate has enough time to share their story as well. Be responsive during the meeting. Try to answer any questions that you're asked, but if you can't, don't worry. Just let them know you'll get back to them with an answer and just make sure you follow up. Be appreciative. Make sure you thank your member or staffer for their time that they're spending to speak with you. Use social media. Ask if you can take a screenshot, for instance, during the meeting so you can share the photo and a thank you post on social media after the meeting. And make sure to follow up. So always send a follow-up thank you email and reiterate the points that you made during the meeting. If you promise to provide more information, make sure you do send that to them. And so now the don'ts for Hill meetings. So make sure you don't, like I said, you've got very little time, so make sure you don't overload the Hill visit with too many issues. Try to streamline, focus on the issue that you're there to talk about and the key points. Don't expect your legislator or staffer to be an expert on the issue. They work on a lot of different things, so they may not know this issue or, say, health policy super well or cancer policy super well. So just don't be surprised. Also, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Like I said, you can always follow up later with an answer if you need to. Don't be offended if your legislator is unable to meet with you. As I said, often staffers will meet with you. And as I mentioned, they're very knowledgeable and they've got the ear of the legislator, so you can still get things accomplished if you can't meet directly with your member. And finally, most importantly, don't confront the member or the staffer. Don't threaten, don't pressure them to basically co-sponsor legislation, for instance, like we're going to do this year. Don't beg them. Just like I said, be respectful and make that ask. So now to talk about the meeting. When you're in there, in the meeting, in your virtual meeting, first start off with brief introductions. So share your name, the city you're from, your connection to cancer, and let them know for sure that you are a constituent and also that you're an NCCS advocate. State the purpose of the meeting, let them know what you're there to advocate for, and then share your story. As I mentioned before, this is a screenshot of our step-by-step worksheet to tell your story. Please use that ahead of time to prep. You're welcome to use it. Try to keep your story under 2 minutes so you have time to make the ask, and like I said, share with other advocates as well. And then, of course, make the ask. Or thank them if they're already supporting what you're advocating for. And after the meeting, make sure to tweet your legislator, thanking them for the meeting, and restate the ask that you shared in the meeting. Send thank you emails to the staffer and to the staffer, basically, and they'll share that with the member, with responses to any outstanding questions if there were any. Follow up with staff on action items if there were any, and if your member takes action, so if they support the legislation you ask them to support, make sure to thank them and their staff. And moving forward after the meetings, make sure that be sure to maintain relationships and stay engaged. So some ways you could do that would be to subscribe to the legislator's email list and follow them on social media. Don't be afraid to check in with their staff regularly and see what's going on, or let them know your views on issues. You serve as a resource on cancer issues. Invite your member to local cancer community events in your hometown when they may be in the district. Thank them for co-sponsoring legislation. Schedule in-district meetings, like I said, when they're in the district. And be sure to attend any town hall meetings that they're hosting. And that's it. That's what we have for Hill Meetings 101. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at any time. I'm happy to help in any way. Thank you.